Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Welcome to the end of your work week, folks. Josh Ryan, Abby St. John, another 2 hours of primetime local news coming up. Plenty to look at locally, and this extends to not just this area, but across North America. The opening of Joker, very controversial movie, it seems.
Yes, people have been talking about how violent it is. They even at the premiere they stopped, interviews because they just didn't want to talk about it. So it was only pictures allowed. But yeah, very controversial because it just depicts real life, and I guess that's hard for some people.
And certainly, we're going to talk about that further in the question of the day. Whether do you think artists should have a responsibility to society in how they depict their art? Plenty of local stuff as well, including the last Coming Out series tonight at Lakeland College. First, though, let's go to Eric Bay. He was on location earlier.
Thanks, guys. Well, after that spurt of a little winter weather here the last couple days, we finally returned to that more fall seasonal temperature, which means one thing: hunting season is definitely upon us. So today we are talking a little bit about an indoor range shoot this weekend, learning a little bit about that gun safety, as well taking a look at some things to remember this season if you are going out looking to fill your freezer. So we're going to have some more on all that here throughout the show. But before that, we are going to head back into the studio and take a look at your local news.
Elections Canada is facing a shortage of workers to help during this month's federal election in rural areas, including the Battleford-Lloydminster region. While the Lloydminster area has progressed, there's still many positions that need filling ahead of advanced polls and Election Day.
We're still looking around Marshall, Lashburn, Neilburg, Red Pheasant, Wilkie, Calfield, Colville, Plenty, Unity, and Turtleford. So we're still looking for people to work on poll day and advanced polls, but mostly on poll day.
Workers have to be 16 years old and a Canadian citizen to qualify for one of the 300,000 paid positions across the country.
We're looking for information agent, registration agents, because people can still register on the day of election. So we're looking for all these people.
You can register at elections.ca or go through your local Elections Canada office. A man is dead after a collision between a train and an SUV in West Central Saskatchewan. The crash happened Monday just before 5 p.m. The driver of the SUV was heading north on Highway 21 near Unity, and RCMP say he was traveling at highway speeds when he hit the train traveling westbound. The man was the only occupant of the vehicle and died from the collision. Mounties aren't releasing the man's name or age, but his family has been notified. Alcohol and drugs don't appear to be factors in the crash. The third and final chapter in the Coming Out series at Lakeland College begins at 7 this evening. Hosted by the LGBTQ+ support group, the evening will feature 4 speakers, largely from previously filmed video, and be more interactive. President William Yap hopes that it helps stimulate important conversation, as well as allow the audience to experience a coming out of their own.
That way they know how they would react and what kind of emotions would come up as they handle the journey that they go through. Because then it's that light bulb moment that goes, now I get why you feel the need to scream from the rooftops that you can finally be who you are and that it's not a bad thing.
There are a number of other topics not specific to just the LGBTQ community that will be discussed.
It factors in stigma against mental health. It factors in a lot of other things, a lot of very hard-hitting topics that need to be addressed and need to be talked about, especially in this time now.
Yap is thankful for the support that Lakeland and the Lloydminster area have shown and says there will be plenty of chances to have conversations at the end of the evening.
Opportunity to ask the questions that you've been wanting to ask this entire time but don't know who to ask.
The event is taking place at the Service Lecture Theatre on the 2nd floor. Today is World Teachers Day, and with that, the Lloydminster Catholic School Division held a contest to help get a teacher out of the classroom for an afternoon. Our Jasmine King finds out why.
Tell us why you love being a teacher. we're going to draw a prize on September 30th from all of the entries. And that prize is a half a day of me teaching your class.
Halfway through September, the Lloydminster Catholic School Division posted on Facebook offering a half a day off in honor of World Teachers' Day if they commented why they cherished working as a teacher.
I think, you know, we all know that teaching is a long year of work and the pursuit of goals and the pursuit of excellence with kids. But there's lots of opportunity just to have some fun. And, you know, hopefully that's what we're doing here this afternoon.
Out of all 30 comments, Lenora Hobbs was randomly chosen as the winner to get the afternoon off, something she wasn't expecting.
I was pretty shocked. I never win anything, so I was very surprised. So I basically just said why I love teaching, which is because I get to build those relationships with kids that last beyond the classrooms.
Over her time working at LCSD, Lenora says she sees everyone in the division as one big family, and having Nigel take over her class was just another example of that.
I feel very blessed and grateful to work with so many amazing people and to have a director that's willing to say, hey, I'm going to take my own time to come and support you and let you know what a wonderful job you do means a lot to me. And I feel like everyone here is a big family. Whether you walk into Father Gorman or you walk into any of the other schools, they treat you like they would treat any of their staff members.
Being able to teach a class of grade 6 students and step out of his usual routine was a fun experience for Nigel on World Teachers' Day.
This is a great group of kids. They're so excited to learn. When I came in, they're like, we won. And so, yeah, we're just having fun and having a great time, but it's really nice to have these kind of learning targets that you can get at in a million different ways.
They are hoping to have another contest similar to this next year.
Now we're going to Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Once again, we are back here, and today we are talking about an indoor range shooting happening this weekend, and Tyler Verbioff joins me here now. So first off, can you give us a little background as to what the event actually is?
Well, what the event is, it's a free family fun day. Everything will be supplied, safety equipment, rifles, and pistols, and it's for anybody to come out. Adults should be accompanied by a youth, and we're looking to do it for the day of Sunday, October 6th. And yeah, it's about education and getting people involved in the community.
And now you mentioned that education, obviously it's a family fun day. So what's kind of the importance of making sure, you know, getting kids out here and making sure they learn proper gun safety here at an early age?
Well, that's just it. We're going to have briefings before anybody goes into the range. We'll give them the spiel about all range safety rules and procedures, what to follow. Give them a complete breakdown of what we want to do so that if anything, God forbid, happens, we can cover it and take care of it, because we have qualified range safety officers out there with us, myself being one of them.
And you mentioned that too, you have the range safety officers. So what's, I guess, the importance too of making sure kids are in that extremely safe environment as well, kind of maybe their first time if they are kind of handling guns?
Well, I've done activities like this before, being a range safety officer, and it's always gone pretty good. We give them a knowledgeable presentation of what we're doing, all safety aspects, and then it basically just runs itself. So once we give them the safety rules and stuff, we always ask if there's any questions, and if there's any misunderstanding, we just go through it and then proceed to shoot. And like I said, in doing it before, it's always gone smoothly, and we hope to continue that.
All right, thank you for this, and we are going to have some more from back here again, talking the indoor range shooting happening this weekend, as well as some other gun safety tips, but before that, we're going to head back into the studio.
Thank you very much, eBay. 9 degrees your current temperature, so cooling down a little bit in the last couple of hours. Staying cloudy, and that should be the case the rest of your evening heading into tomorrow, unfortunately. Still certainly warmer than we had at the beginning of the week. It will cool down in a couple of days and will be well below seasonal averages. So be prepared for that when it hits soon enough. 2011 had your record high on this day, 24 degrees, -9. In 2000. Yeah, 2000 was a very chilly year for the border city. Westerly winds around 14-15 kilometers at the moment, but should taper off over the course of the evening, so not reaching the level of gusts that we saw yesterday, where we were getting around 30 kilometers. Your satellite and radar here showing a few clouds that carried the possibility of some rain were making its way through the northern side of the map, certainly by the Lakeland region. Edmonton was hit by that only just a little briefly, and there's some further development near Red Deer area and further on south in Alberta, but relatively largely clear of that at the moment in the border cities. Still keep an eye on your alerts as the evening moves on. A few current temperatures there: 12 in Edmonton and in Red Deer, and 11 in Edson, Whitecourt, 10 in Jasper. On the Sask side, 7 in both Prince Albert and Melfort, 8 in Saskatoon, North Battleford, 14 degrees, Meadow Lake, 12 degrees. That's the same temperature that is in Cold Lake. 9 degrees again in the border city, 13 in Provost. North Battleford, still relatively sunny conditions. That will get a little bit cloudier in the next 2 hours. Saskatoon also starting to get cloudier as the evening goes. Both Edmonton and Saskatoon should have relatively cloudy skies throughout the evening. And your 3-day forecast: 10 degrees, a low of 4 expected tomorrow. The chance of rain has dipped to 25%, which is great news for farmers, but there still is that outside chance, so keep an eye on those alerts. 13 degrees and a low of 3 on Sunday, where we should see sunlight once again, and then possibly your warmest day of the month could be Monday. 17 degrees, a low of 2. Unfortunately, right after that, we dip back into chillier temperatures. That's your 3-day. We'll have more coming up after the break.
Welcome back. Well, harvest in Saskatchewan continues to lag due to poor weather, including an early snowstorm. The latest report from the province says 47% of the crop is now combined, up from 39% last week. The 5-year average is 75% combined for this time of year. Much of the crop harvested so far is tough and is being put into grain dryers and aeration bins. Farmers will need several weeks of warm, dry weather to get the crop off. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says the legislation is coming this fall to crack down on protesters who trespass on farms and agricultural land. Kenney says free speech must be protected, but not when protesters trespass, create mischief, and post potential biohazards on farms. Criminal charges are outside the province's control, but Kenney says it will beef up provincial fines for trespassing on agricultural land. And that's all for Ag. Sports is next. Lloydminster Golf and Curling Center has posted a survey and is asking the community for feedback. The survey runs up until next Friday and is hoping to improve their service and amenities.
We want to make sure to see how we did this year, what kind of service we're providing, and find out anything we can improve.
Questions on the survey range from course quality to staff interaction to the website. Last season, the course changed and updated the inside restaurant.
I think that they've helped quite a bit from just hearing verbally. It sounds like everything's been going really well. Once again, the survey is just really about finding out where we're at.
Patrons can fill out the survey online at lloydminster.ca/LGCC survey or fill out a paper copy in the Pro Shop. Lakeland College women's volleyball team is hosting a preseason tournament this weekend. The women's team is splitting into 2 teams, a veteran squad and a younger one. Each team will get in 4 games over the weekend.
We have the opportunity to be able to host at home, so I can divide my team in half and go split squad within our starting lineup. We're going to see a little bit of the same as well. There's going to be some young players that are going to be starting, and mixing that with some of our older players. So
the tournament includes 11 schools and wraps up Sunday at 1 p.m. Now we're going to Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Once again, we are back here, and today we are taking a look at some range shooting as well as some gun safety tips, and Tyler Verbioff joins me once again here, and we did mention you guys do have this range event here. So what are some things maybe people should keep in mind, just being safe while they are handling guns on the range?
Well, first and foremost, the first rule of gun safety is to treat every firearm as if it were loaded. You always keep the barrel of the rifle or pistol pointed downrange. In the event of a misfire, is to stop, keep it pointed downrange, and then you engage a range safety officer who will come and assist you in any problem that you may have. It's a very safe hobby. There's very few injuries recorded, but it can happen. Carelessness, and lack of attention can lead to any kind of a mishap, and that's what we're always trying to avoid with our education and outreach that we do.
And now obviously with range safety officers around like yourself, obviously safety very important. Now maybe there's some things, if you know an adult who does have some experiences coming with maybe a kid or a youth, is there some things maybe they should remember or take into account with gun safety?
Well, the first thing I guess you could say is never be afraid to ask questions. The range safety officers are there for your assistance so that everybody can have a good time. And if there's ever any problems, if there's any questions or anything that's unclear, is to not be afraid to ask anybody. You know, nobody would ever stop learning, and it's always beneficial to just ask if you're unclear about a range procedure. Some ranges have specific procedures. Some are a little bit more loose, but safety is of utmost importance in every range that you go to.
All right, thank you for this, and we're going to have some more from back here again. Continuing with gun safety, especially now as we move into hunting season, so we're going to have some more as well, hunting safety coming up here over the next little bit. But before we do get to that, we are going to head back into the studio.
Thank you very much, eBay. Your next 24 hours, increased cloud cover, unfortunately, coming into the border city. Missing out on the low pressure system way up there in the north, but still cloud cover, an outside chance of some precipitation, and maybe some snow a little bit later into next week. We'll keep an eye on your weather alerts on Environment Canada when it comes to that. Again, closer look in the next 24 hours. Some clear patches throughout the evening and cloud cover coming in as well as you head into the later afternoon and certainly in the evening on Saturday. Now we're going to get into your current weather here. So 12 degrees in Edmonton, 12 in Vancouver, 10 in Whitehorse, and then Winnipeg at 9 degrees, 10 on Toronto, 5 in Halifax, 4 in Quebec City, and 2 in St. John. So cooling down quickly on the east coast. 11 degrees in Vermilion and Wainwright here in our region, 11 in St. Paul, 12 in Bonnyville and in Cold Lake, 11 in Lac La Biche, Vegreville at 10 degrees, and on the Sask side we have Green Lake and Meadow Lake at 12 degrees, 11 in St. Walburg, Maidstone also at 11 degrees, and 15 down south in Macklin, North Battleford, still sitting at 14 degrees. Now again, 4 is the overnight low for North Battleford, 11 tomorrow, and wind coming out of the west-northwest in that region. A little bit calmer certainly than what they're receiving at the moment. Westerly winds of about 24 kilometers currently. Those should be below the average of 20 kilometers heading into tomorrow. In Cold Lake, southwest winds will shift to the west-northwest by tomorrow. Their current temperature of 12 will drop to 5 overnight, and they're expecting at least a millimeter or 2 of precipitation coming down, a high of 10 degrees as well in that region. And in Lloydminster, 9 degrees, expecting a low of 4 as the wind will stay relatively consistent out of the west, but it should pick up again tomorrow when it shifts to the west-northwest, 20 plus kilometers per hour, and again a high of 10 degrees, largely cloudy skies, and a small chance of some precipitation being around again in that region. But that's still good weather compared to what you'll see next as we head into our 7-day forecast. A couple of warm days and then things drop off in a hurry. 13 degrees on Sunday with a low of 3, relatively sunny conditions. Similar conditions as well on Monday with a high of 17 degrees, but then we go right from 17 to +3 on Tuesday, and there's a now chance of some snow coming down. 2 degrees on Wednesday, a low of -6, then 6 degrees on Thursday, and 7 on Friday. So a slight warm-up heading into the following weekend, but again, the low is well below the seasonal average for this time of the year. That's been your 7-day forecast. We'll have question of the day and more coming up after this break on Primetime Local News.
Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Alberta's Justice Minister is calling for a review after a mass killer was granted more freedoms from a psychiatric hospital. This week, the Alberta Review Board ruled 28-year-old Matthew DeGrood should be allowed to go on unsupervised day trips in the Edmonton area, along with supervised multi-day outings. DeGrood was found not criminally responsible for killing 5 young people at a house party in Calgary in 2014. Now we're going to Eric Bay, who is on location today.
Once again, we are back here, and today we are talking a little bit about gun safety. Now, obviously, we've seen the weather has taken a little bit of a turn to the colder side, so hunting season is definitely here, and Tyler Verbioff joins me once again. So what are some things people should remember here as we enter the hunting season, making sure they do stay safe while using weapons?
Well, hunting season is a different aspect of it because you're outdoors, you're in different areas and stuff. One of the biggest things is, of course, gun safety. Treat every weapon as though it were loaded. And also, too, is landowner permission. If you see posted land, it is not good to just go on wherever you want and hunt on anybody's land. Having landowner permission is a must. Also, when you're hunting, is to be sure of your target and beyond. You don't want to be aiming at a game animal and then not see a house or a vehicle in the background, which could lead to a bad situation. So there's that, and then there's also your other fundamentals of gun safety and stuff. But I would say, yeah, it's just, you know, when you're hunting with partners or by yourself, is to make sure that you're in control of your rifle at all times. And when you're with friends, the buddy system always comes into place as well, especially if you're crossing a fence or any kind of obstacle.
And especially with that too, is there anything, maybe extra precautions you should take if you are, say, going out alone, especially, you know, making a plan if people know that when you're returning, stuff like that?
Well, if you're going out by yourself, it's always beneficial if you let somebody know where you're going, what area you're going to be in. With today's technology, everybody has smartphones and stuff. A lot of them have GPS activation so that you can find them, like with certain apps. But yeah, it's just communication, making sure people know where you are, where you're going to be, your estimated time of arrival, and really just any kind of activity that you're going to be doing. Because you never know if you get stuck in mud or in snow or your vehicle breaks down and stuff. It's always good to have a way to communicate and get yourself back home safely.
All right, thank you for this, and we are going to have some more for back here. Again, continuing with gun safety, especially as we do move into hunting season here. But before that, we are going to head back into the studio.
The question of the day, really a hot button one, certainly south of the border where there's been more fervor around the release of Joker. Really the concern comes from when you have a movie, I guess, that is as violent as it is, but also portrays psychopaths that are similar to some we've seen in terms of mass shootings in the United States, that you don't want to inspire more mass shootings. And some people believe that seeing this kind of depiction so realistic and realized and could almost glamorize that view to people who are already a little mentally disturbed.
Well, yeah, and the trailer for Joker, as the example that we've been using, it shows a scene where I guess there's rioters that the Joker has, you know, inspired, or it was inspired by the Joker. So that kind of, you know, coincides with that, oh, so one figure can create these mass riots. And I think, especially with this movie, because of the mass shooting from the Dark Knight movie, there's going to be a lot of security and police presence at movie theaters, especially down in the States.
Certainly, and that of course was something that took everyone by storm when The Dark Knight Rises was released. And that's not even a movie that was set to inspire anything, but it was that one incident set off a chain of others. And again, the argument the filmmakers have been making in response to that is that you can't influence someone who's mentally unstable by simply showing a movie. It could be any other movie or any other sequence of violence in a movie that could turn that person towards that direction.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, it's so hard to make movies or shows to really, you know, it's hard to just not thinking about that kind of stuff because you really don't know what's going to happen.
You certainly don't. We'll discuss this further on, but we also, of course, want your commentary as well. Chime in on Facebook and Twitter. And for now, enjoy a few pets of the week here. Ehrlich is up first.
Very adorable. I love the lion's mane. Super cute.
Next up here, Frisco.
Just an adorable little angel. Super cute.
Followed by Charlie, who's chilling.
Who has an intense stare. Very cute.
Minnie wants some water, I guess?
Yeah, water or food. Either way, super cute.
And we'll end with Mitzi and Pickles,
who are holding hands while sleeping, which I think is just so precious, and I love the names.
Precious pics plus precious names could get you a free gift card.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
back in the Primetime Local News studio, and we're debuting, I guess, a new segment, at least for this following month, and I'm taking it very seriously, as you can see by these notes. Just like last year, where John Punchon, an old friend of ours, did one movie a day for the entire month of October, you're doing a similar marathon this year, Abby.
Yes, I'm doing one Halloween-type movie every day for the month of October because I love Halloween so much, and I decided, you know, what the heck? I love movies, and I love Halloween, and I love the month of October, so I thought, why not? So the first movie that I started with on October 1st was Tim Burton's The Corpse Bride, which stars no stranger to Tim Burton movies, Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter as the leading roles, and it's very in fashion of who Tim Burton is, and we will start off with a little clip from the movie.
With this ring, I ask you to be mine.
So suitably creepy stuff.
Yes, that basically depicts what the movie is, where he accidentally proposes to a corpse, and they go on an adventure to, you know, basically he's trying to marry a human girl who he was arranged to be married with, but has to deal with Victoria following him around, pretending like they're married. So it's a pretty good movie. It's definitely Tim Burton-esque, which I love.
And it's like many of Tim Burton's movies, as you've kind of described. It's got a bit of his macabre feeling, but it's also got heart still to it, which is why, you know, some young kids, not every young kid obviously, because parents have different standards, but some young kids can still enjoy the goofiness that comes with the movie in addition to the darkness, because there's a lot of that with Johnny Depp.
Yes, exactly. It is a goofy movie because they do have musical numbers in it, which is, I find, very hysterical, and I do really enjoy it. But moving on to day 2 of October, I chose the original It miniseries because, you know, in true fashion, I love Stephen King, and the original It is honestly a standalone from the new one, so it's great. So here is a clip from It.
Hi, Georgie. Aren't you going to say hello? Oh, come on, bucko. Don't you want a balloon?
I'm not supposed to take stuff from strangers. My dad said so.
Very wise of your dad, Georgie. Very wise indeed.
So this is a very iconic opening scene, which is in the new one as well. Very iconic. Tim Curry's portrayal of Pennywise is just so creepy and just amazing, especially with the graphics and I guess the effects that they had back in the 90s. So I thought this was just an amazing portrayal, and it was a mini-series, so it was shown on TV, so it had to kind of lower the scary factor with that.
Indeed, and obviously TV wasn't what it is now with HBO and whatnot, a much lower budget, and yet, as we were talking off camera, 30 million people watched this, so it was a big hit at the time, and in addition to Tim Curry's performance, it became basically a cult classic.
Yes, his portrayal of Pennywise has lived on, and I think it will continue to live on even with Bill Skarsgård's portrayal of Pennywise in the new 2017 and 2019 version of It. So I think they're both very standalone, which I love. I don't think either one outshadows the other because it's for their time, and I think the miniseries really aged well. You can definitely, it obviously isn't as scary because the effects aren't, but you can definitely tell why and how it was scary and creepy for its time, which I absolutely love.
And now it's closer to the book structure in some ways because they actually film it from the adult's perspective to the kid's perspective rather than what they did with the films, where it was the kids for a movie and then basically the adults for the movie. Do you like that way of doing it, or is it still kind of just a different flavor of the same thing?
I think it's both of them portrayed the book very well, and I loved, I don't know, it's very hard to compare because, again, they're standalone, and it's just perfect both ways.
Certainly. And again, you can obviously catch that on various forms online or buy it on Amazon as well. We'll have more a little later in the show, but first, let's take a break.
Today I'm here with Jennifer McEwen, and today we're going to be talking just a bit about what she's been up to since the Maxim Cover Girl contest, and she's been featured recently in Oxygen magazine as the top fitness 5 women. So congratulations, first off.
Thanks so much, Abby.
So tell me just a little bit about the top 5 fitness in Oxygen magazine.
Okay, so basically it's a feature in the back of the magazine, and there's you submit a photo of yourself or someone that you know and talk about their story, their past goals that they have, competitions that they've done, or other things that you find inspiring, or that maybe if it's you submitting it that sort of inspired yourself, or that you want someone else to learn from or look up to or whatnot. So I've submitted a few times and have not been featured, and then this time I finally was. So it's super exciting, and it's a great honor to do it, and you just feel like, you know, oh, finally a window's open. When all these doors are slamming, finally there's a window that's opened.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And so what else have you been up to since the Maxim Cover Girl?
Well, I'm back personal training, and I've started an early morning boot camp for a whole bunch of ladies locally, and I'm focusing on my upcoming shows. So I'm going to be competing in the spring. I have 2 leagues that I haven't competed in before, and the competition is going to be very stiff, and there's going to be so many women, and I might go into a different category which requires a little more muscle sort of bulk, if you will, and or mass, and yes, I'm focused on that, and just at home with my kids, and you know, that's about it.
There's a section in the feature in the magazine about being a role model, and I believe being a mom yourself, that's super important, not only to do what you're doing, but to make sure that your kids are looking up to you. So what sort of things do you do to kind of help make sure that, okay, I'm still doing what I love, but also making sure that your kids are looking up to you and making sure that they have the right thoughts about who they are?
Well, I think a big part of it is sharing openly with them what your goals are. And so my daughters are very involved. They know right off the bat, like, I'm on social media, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing it. It's all positive. There's nothing negative. If there is some negativity, because you do get some, I try to just, you know, look past that, and it's not even about that. It doesn't matter. Like, none of the negativity matters, and it's all good. And it gives them that sort of reality that you can have a goal, and it's okay if you don't reach that goal today. You might reach it 5 years down the road, but the only time you fail is the time you don't try. Yeah. So let's just keep trying. Let's focus on something else. Let's direct our energy this way and see what happens. And there is another thing coming up, and we'll maybe talk about that later another time. But so there are some things coming up that are pretty exciting, but this one alone was a huge deal for me. So.
And so what do you do to prepare yourself for these competitions and these shows?
Well, first you get a coach. I've gotten a different coach for each show that I've had. They all have some sort of fitness background or posing background or diet manipulation background, and I feel that's very important. I feel if you're going to do these shows, that's the number one. Find a coach that you believe in and trust, and then go all in. You can't half this way, like, you have to commit yourself for the time frame. It's not forever, and it's not for everyone. So, you know, you focus on the time frame, you apply yourself to that, and if you love it, which I did after my first show, you keep going. Yeah. And hopefully you learn something from each coach you have. And yeah.
So I know you're a huge role model for your girls, but what would you say to other girls who may be thinking about fitness as a career path, or doing what you do, doing competition stuff? What would you say to those girls who, you know, maybe aren't too sure about it?
I would say just completely be patient with yourself, and don't compare yourself to anybody else, because their journey is not yours, and it never will be even remotely close to yours. Everybody's different, and everybody has different goals. And you may look at the magazine thing and be like, what are you even doing? Like, why does that matter to you? It doesn't matter why it matters to me. It does. It's a big deal to me. So I would say to them, be yourself, be true to yourself. And, you know, if one aspect of it doesn't work, that doesn't mean something else won't. There's so many, like, ranges and realms and doors you can go through that maybe this type of magazine won't work for you, but there's thousands of others. So, you know, submit, keep trying, you know, keep talking to the people that are in the field, and, you know, don't give up. And you can start as early as, I think there's amateur bodybuilding, I think it's either 14 or 16. So, I mean, like, why not give it a shot, right?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and a huge congratulations on the magazine article, and best luck for future competitions.
Thanks so much, Abby.
Okay.
Welcome back to a segment we don't really have a name for, but I'm sure we'll come up with one in the next week. We covered 2 movies that Abby St. John has watched to start off your Halloween experience over the course of October. The next one is a dear one to you because it's one of the first Stephen King books you read, and it's obviously a very classic one in the history of horror for not only when it came out in 1976, but it spawned the careers of director Brian De Palma and the main actress, Oscar nominee Sissy Spacek.
Spacek, yeah. Carrie was the first novel that I read by Stephen King, and then I immediately watched the movie afterwards. So here is a clip from Carrie.
If you don't have a date for the prom next Friday, would you like to go with me?
She's with the best-looking boy in the senior class.
He's trying to trick me again.
She'll be voted queen of the prom.
You know, I can make sure that you don't hurt Carrie White anymore.
For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare. Carrie.
So as Carrie is portrayed, that scene, that prom scene, is very iconic with the blood spilling on her. But the outcome of it was not expected by the bullies, where she has telekinesis powers, which she uses to eventually kill her entire class and everyone at the prom. So this movie is very horror. It's aged very well, I believe, because it has that thing that not a whole lot of movies have. You know, a teenage girl who is brutally bullied every single day of her life. She has an overbearing, over-Christian mother who doesn't let her do anything. And then she has telekinesis. So she's using that to, I guess, her almost advantage, but as a revenge tool.
Yeah, it's one of the first, I think, really famous revenge-style horror movies. Obviously, you can see plenty of even television shows that have not necessarily taken the plot of Carrie, although many have taken the plot of Carrie, but also plenty of shows, and even something like Riverdale. They've kind of taken some of the aesthetic of what Carrie looked like, as you saw with the blood scene. That has been parodied and put into many other things over the years.
Yes, like Riverdale, they did have a musical episode using Carrie and turning it into a musical. So it's been referenced many times in pop culture, in different movies, TV shows, and there was a remake with Chloe Grace Moretz. In my opinion, it wasn't as good as the original, because I think the original is just such a classic that I believe has aged so well over time, and you can still go back and watch it, and it has that still creepy horror element to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the Disney remake strategy that Disney's taken in recent years. I think it applies here, where people kind of underestimate how effective movies can still be from the 70s, 80s, even if there's just a slight tweak in them.
Exactly, yeah. So as I've only watched 3 movies so far, we're going to be jumping into The Joker as opening this weekend, and it spun a lot of controversy. So here's a clip from The Joker.
To your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow
What's so funny? Freak!
Now, with the trailer, just the trailer, it definitely gives that very unsettling feeling. I think that's what they were going for. And it's you can see that there are a lot of elements of violence in it. So the controversy wrapped around it is coming from, I guess, the past with The Dark Knight and what happened. And so definitely adding more security at theaters is what, especially down in the States, are looking to.
And that's certainly, when you see some of the news about copycats, I can understand the concern certainly with that. One thing that we haven't talked about yet with this controversy is the fact that there's almost been the media reaction has almost sort of hyped up the the controversy itself, because these articles that are talking about the nature of the movie and also what people will think about the movie, most of them were written before people had even seen the movie. So there's been this buildup of 2 months basically heading into its release.
Yeah, exactly. Like I seen headline after headline of saying this is what you need to read before seeing, or what you need to know before seeing The Joker, adding that it has a heavy amount of violence and ensued of riots.
Indeed, and we'll have to see, as you said in one of the previous segments, when we see the public reaction, I'm curious if it mirrors things that critics have said, or if the public reacts to the movie differently, whether that's a good or a bad thing. So coming up, Abby will be back with another quick panel interview, and then we'll wrap up the show from there. Well, we have one more thing to hand out this week, and that is our pet winner. So let's get to it. And our winner is the adorable Macy.
Aw, very adorable. I love it. I still love the little paws hanging over. Super cute.
Indeed. Haley Mitchell, congratulations. You are our winner. Pick up your gift card here at the Stingray station. And that's a good face heading into the weekend.
Yes, definitely. Super cute, and I just love it.
Yeah, and certainly more positive than the weather outlook. So we'll hope you guys enjoy a great week, and we'll see you again on Monday with news, weather, sports, and much more on Primetime.